Hi there, and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism. I am your host, Karen Thomas, and I want to thank you so much for being here and being a proactive parent and getting the resources that you need to let your child live their most fulfilling and independent life possible. When my own son was diagnosed with autism, I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, and there was nothing else that we could do for him but manage his symptoms the rest of his life. But I didn't want to do that. Fortunately, my background in craniosacral therapy of now 30 years let me know that the brain can and does heal, but I didn't know that much about autism. What I did know is that I didn't want to just mask the symptoms with dangerous drugs. I wanted to find the causes and work with them naturally. And fast forward, it took me a decade and a lot of time and effort, but today my son is no longer diagnosable with autism after being told it could not happen. So I'm here to share with you valuable resources to save you the time and some of the expense that I had to spend to figure it out, and to help you let your child lead to their best results possible. Every child's level of recovery is different, but we know that children who couldn't sleep through the night are sleeping now through the night and happily. Their immune systems are now strong where they were once sick all the time. Children who were nonverbal and their parents were told they could never speak are now speaking. Children who were getting D's and F's in school are getting A's and B's. And those that were so anxious all the time and couldn't sit still and were uncomfortable in their own bodies are now calm and happy and relaxed. And they're leading fulfilling and independent lives with friends. This is what we want for our kids. So I'm here to share the resources with you so that you can get the best results for your child, the best possible. And you can start that right now with my free download of the top 7 foods to eliminate beginning today, of the top foods that are the most inflammatory and toxic that are contributing to those physical and behavioral symptoms of autism that your child is having that are making his life uncomfortable. So you can get that right now at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/7 foods. And feel free to share that with anybody you know who would be interested. And I will also link to it in today's show notes. There's, of course, a lot more than diet, but this is something you could start doing today that will begin to reduce those symptoms. And I'm happy to share everything I can with you. So right now, let's dive into today's episode. Hi there, and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism. I want to thank you for being here as always and getting the resources you need to help your child to live a far better life than they likely are today. This is about helping them live to their full potential, to be happy and as healthiest as they can be. And today's subject, I'm going to walk you through in my 39 years in holistic health and in my 20 years in autism research. I have looked up so many supplements and technologies and researched them and interviewed the owners of the company and dug into the practices of things, used them myself before I have shared it with anyone. And so this is an episode that I think can be helpful for you as a parent or an individual to be able to understand what you want to look at to make sure that something is worthy of being utilized and how I go through the process. And so this episode is titled 10 Questions I Ask Before I Trust a Health Product or Technology. And it's podcast number 251. So show notes will also be at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/251. So when you're a parent searching for ways to support your child's health, it can be really, really overwhelming. I know there are so many supplements and technologies and people, just various opinions, and what do you know, how do you know what's right? So again, the devices, technologies, practitioners, protocols, and products are everywhere you look. And each one might come with some impressive testimonials, promising research, or claims that it could make a difference. But how do you know what's truly worth your time, money, and attention? So as an autism specialist and decades of experience in holistic health and working with families, I have learned I can simply look at I cannot simply look at a product and ask, does this sound good? Before I consider adding a supplement, health technology, or any other product to my program, I do my own research and evaluation. I look at the science, I investigate the company, I look at how the product is made, I consider safety, quality, cost, ease of use, and whether it's genuinely practical for families I serve. Because something can be innovative, popular, or expensive and still not be the right quality of or the right fit to every individual and their unique needs. So most importantly, I ask whether it makes sense. And I don't just recommend something and send families on their way. When I believe in a product or technology, I use it myself and share it with my own family so I can have firsthand experiences with it and understand how it fits into real life. I like to approach anything in life with an open mind, and I can't even count how many potentially valuable options I may have missed if I hadn't been open to looking at it further and trying it for myself, because firsthand experience is very important to me. So here are the 10 questions that I ask before I trust. 1, is there a scientific rationale behind it? So the first question I ask is, does this make scientific and biological sense? I have a very curious mind and I'm interested in understanding how something is supposed to work. So what is the proposed mechanism? What biological pathway or process is involved? And is there credible research supporting the underlying science? I don't believe that one study or one testimonial is enough to make a decision, and I want to look into the bigger picture. I also consider what type of evidence exists. Is there peer-reviewed research, human research, laboratory research, research on the specific product or technology, or is the evidence primarily based on anecdotal reports? These are all different levels of evidence, and I believe it's important to understand the difference. So when I evaluate something new, I want to know not only what the company says it does, but also whether the science behind the concept is reasonable and supported by evidence. Number 2, how is the product or technology made? Quality matters. With a supplement, I want to know about the ingredients, sourcing, manufacturing, testing, and quality control processes. With a health technology, I want to understand how the technology is created, how it's designed to work, and whether there are appropriate quality standards in place. I look for transparency. Where is it manufactured? What standards are followed? How is the quality controlled? Are there independent tests or other ways to verify the quality? And the more I learn about how something is created, the more confident I can be in evaluating whether it deserves consideration. Number 3, who is behind the company? As I mentioned, I will interview the owners of the company many times. I don't just look at the product, I look up the people behind the product, who founded the company, what's their background, why did they create this product or technology? And I want to know whether the company appears to be genuinely committed to developing something of value or whether the primary focus seems to be marketing. I also look at how the company communicates. Are they transparent? Do they make reasonable claims? Do they acknowledge what is known and what is still being researched? To me, integrity matters. And I want to feel confident not only in what a company is selling, but also in the people and principles behind it. Number 4 is a big one. Is it safe? Safety is always an important part of my evaluation. I consider the known safety information, potential risks, contraindications, and possible interactions. I also consider who will be using it. Is it appropriate for any age, adults only, individuals with specific needs? And I'm particularly interested in whether something is practical and appropriate for real-world use. I never assume that because something is natural or non-invasive that it's automatically right for everyone. Safety has to be considered on an individual basis. Number 5, how bioavailable or effective is the delivery method? So this question can look different depending on what I'm evaluating. With a supplement, I want to know how well the body can absorb and utilize the ingredients. What form are the nutrients in? Is it easy to use? Does the body have to digest them? Are there factors that may affect absorption? Is the dose impactful? With a health technology, I may ask a different question. How does the technology deliver its intended effect? For example, a phototherapy patch is fundamentally different from an oral supplement. It doesn't work by providing nutrients or compounds to the body in the way a supplement does. Instead, it uses a non-invasive approach involving reflected light and specialized patterns designed to interact with the body's own processes. And its unique delivery approach is based on the technology behind the patch. Everything is different, so I don't evaluate every product using exactly the same checklist. The categories may differ, but the principle is the same. I want to understand how it's supposed to work and whether there are reasonable basis for believing that the body can respond to it. Number 6, is it non-invasive and practical? When I'm considering something for myself or my program, I ask, can families realistically use this? Is it invasive? Does it require injections or complicated procedures or giant horse pills? Does it require frequent appointments? Can it be used at home? Is it well tolerated? All these considerations matter. It needs to be easy to use and take. Families are already juggling appointments, therapies, schoolwork, meals, supplements, and everything else that comes with daily life. So it needs to be scientifically interesting, but if it's too difficult to use consistently, it may not be practical for the family. That's why I pay attention to how something fits into everyday life. Number 7, is it easy to use? Ease of use is not just about convenience, it's about consistency. If something requires a complicated protocol, multiple doses throughout the day, special preparation, or a process that's difficult for someone to tolerate, then it can become a hindrance. And I want to know, can a person easily understand how to use it? Can it realistically become part of the family's routine? Can the family maintain its consistency? The best intervention in the world won't be helpful if the families can't realistically implement it. Number 8, is the cost reasonable for the value? So price is important, but I don't just look at the price alone. I look at the value. Now, what does it cost to use the product or technology over time? Is the cost reasonable compared with what it offers? Could one product or technology potentially support multiple aspects of a person's overall health journey, reducing the need to invest in numerous separate products or approaches? I also consider whether it could complement the other things a family is already doing and potentially help them get more from the overall wellness plan. In some cases, the most valuable option isn't necessarily the least expensive product. It may be the one that offers the greatest overall value. It's easy to use consistently and can become a meaningful part of a family's long-term approach. My goal is always to be thoughtful about the financial investment I ask families to make, and at the same time, I want to look beyond the initial price tag and consider the bigger picture. Could this technology or product provide enough value, versatility, and support to potentially help families simplify their approach, reduce the need for multiple separate interventions, or make other things they're already doing more effective? Ultimately, I'm looking for something that I believe has the potential to provide meaningful value, not simply something that is inexpensive. Because sometimes investing in the right tool can be more valuable in the long run than spending money on multiple products or approaches that don't provide the results or benefits that a family is looking for. Parents should never feel that they have to purchase every product available to them. When I recommend a product or technology, I do it because I genuinely believe it will make a difference in their overall plan and health goals. Number 9, does it address a genuine need? This is where I start asking a bigger question. Why would I add this to my program in the first place? What need does it address? What gap does it potentially fill? Does it offer something that isn't already being addressed through nutrition, lifestyle, foundational health support, or other parts of the program? Does it provide a different avenue for supporting the body? This is particularly important when evaluating a health technology. A technology doesn't have to replace everything else to be valuable. It may offer a different approach that can be complementary to other strategies. For example, a technology that is non-invasive and easy to use at home may be particularly interesting to me because it could provide families with another option that fits into their daily life. So the question isn't simply, is this a good product? The question is there a reason this product or technology belongs in the overall approach that I'm using with families? Number 10, does it make sense for the families I serve? Ultimately, this is a question that brings everything together. I ask, does the science make sense? Is there quality there? Is the company trustworthy? Is it safe? Is the delivery method appropriate? Is it practical? Is it affordable? Does it address a genuine need? And does it fit into the bigger picture? For me, this is where I look at the whole person and the whole family. I don't believe there is one product that's right for every person or every family, and every individual is unique. However, some products and technologies meet and in many ways exceed the criteria that I look for. When I find something that checks enough of the boxes, I become interested in learning more. So here's an example that I wanted to give you because it's evaluating the phototherapy patch technology that I use. And I want to take it one step further and show you what this process actually looks like in practice. So one of the technologies I spent significant time researching, personally using, and evaluating is LifeWave's phototherapy patch technology. And I don't evaluate a technology like this in exactly the same way I would evaluate a supplement. With a supplement, I might focus heavily on the ingredients, dosage form, absorption, and bioavailability. With the phototherapy technology, I'm looking at different options. How does the technology work? What is the proposed mechanism? What research is available? How's the product manufactured? What's the company's history? Who is behind the company? What does the technology offer? And is it different from traditional technologies or supplements? How easy is it to be used? How invasive or non-invasive is it? Because I want it to be non-invasive. Can it be incorporated into a family's daily routine? How affordable is it? And most importantly, does it make sense as a potential addition to the overall approach that I use with families? It's why I believe it's important to understand the supplements and health technologies are not interchangeable. They may work with very different pathways and delivery methods, and I can't use the same principles to evaluate both. But I want to understand the science and I want to investigate the company and learn who is behind all of this and the technology. Again, looking at quality and safety, and consider the product and how the technology is delivered. This one happens to just use light from the body, which is incredibly 100% non-invasive. It's kind of like if vitamin D hits your skin from sunlight, or actually sunlight hits your skin. It's not just making vitamin D, it's creating what your body needs to do the work in itself to create vitamin D. Well, this works in the same way, but to actively stimulate cells to help our bodies to regenerate and renew. I also want to understand the cost and how meaningful potentially it can be for families that I serve, and why this matters to me. When I recommend or introduce something into my program, I take that responsibility very seriously. And families are investing their time, energy, hope, and often their hard-earned money into families finding ways to support their children. And I don't want to add something simply because it's popular. I don't want to add something because everyone else is talking about it. And I don't want to recommend something based solely on a compelling testimonial. I want to do my homework, and I want to research the technology or product. And I want it to go much beyond marketing. I want to understand the science and quality and ask the most important question of all: does it make sense for the families I serve? That's the standard I strive when I use to evaluate supplements, technologies, and products for my program. And because my goal isn't to give families more things to buy, my goal is to help families find the right tools, the right information, and the right strategies to support their journey while making thoughtful, informed decisions along the way. And when I find something I believe is worth exploring, I want to be able to explain why I believe it deserves consideration, and that's what I believe parents deserve. After doing this kind of research and evaluation, one of the technologies that I have found to meet and again in many ways exceed the criteria is LifeWave's phototherapy patch technology. And I've spent time researching the technology, looking at the science and the company behind it, considering how it fits into the bigger picture of what I teach families. And another very important factor for me is using the technology myself and sharing it with my family, my own family. After using it personally for over a year and sharing it with hundreds of families, I can honestly say that in 39 years of experience in holistic health, I've rarely encountered a technology that has impressed me as much as this one in terms of the results that I've personally experienced and witnessed. And just as importantly, it's non-invasive, simple to use, and it's easy to incorporate into everyone's daily life. And I also believe it's important to consider the overall value it provides and whether it's a reasonable investment for the families I serve. And I absolutely believe this one to be. If you'd like to learn more about LifeWave's phototherapy technology and why I personally have chosen to use it and incorporate it into my work, please visit thrivingwithpatches.com. It's a site page I created for you to be able to learn more about the technology, hear about more of my experiences there. And if you have questions, if you're not sure if it's right for you or your family, there's also a link on that page to schedule a call with me, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about it. And I ultimately want you to be able to make an informed decision for yourself and your family, because all of this is really about making informed decisions for ourselves. And that link again that you can learn all about this technology is thrivingwithpatches.com. And I will also leave show notes for you at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/251, because this is podcast episode number 251. So you can go there, or thrivingwithpatches.com. I hope this has been helpful for you, and thank you again for being here and for everything that you're doing for your family, because your education and your knowledge is absolutely key to your child's success. And I appreciate you being here and what you're doing for your child, and I look forward to seeing you next time.